Good morning, students. So today we are starting with a new chapter, which is from the class 10th, subject history, and this is going to be your lecture 1 from chapter number 1, the rise of nationalism in Europe. So basically, when we talk about history, we have certain basic idea that is boring and it's quite lengthy to study about it. So I will assure you that you will not be bored in these lectures when we are going to study this chapter, and basically in this particular lecture we are just going to overlook the things what is basically there in this chapter. That's it, nothing much, and the assignment solution I will give you. So what are the topics that we are going to discuss in this particular lecture will be that first of all we discuss about nationalism, what does it mean, and how it is defined in the rise of Europe, then the nation state, then we can talk about French Revolution, the idea of the nation, and the Napoleonic Code that happened in the French Revolution and the idea of the nation that had come up. So basically these will be the topics that we are going to cover in this particular lecture. So we are starting with the chapter now. So basically in nationalism in Europe, we are talking about in the 19th and the 20th century, where at that particular century it was all about the monarchy that was going on, and it was the ruling stage of the kings and the queens. There were no any nation, there was no any democratic society that was there. There was only the kings and the queens who are making the rules, and the all the people who are there in that particular living in that particular country, they have to follow those rules. So that was the monarchy that was going on at that particular time. So how does this nationalism work? So first of all we should know about how does nationalism work here. So basically what is a nationalism mean, what it is all about. So when we talk about a particular country or particular nation, the feeling of that patriotic feeling that comes every time when we talk about our own country, like we are living in India, and all the time that when the soldiers are passing, the armies are passing, and a national anthem is being sung, the patriotic feeling, the feeling of that belonging, which whenever it comes up, that is nationalism. That is basically what we mean as nationalism. So nationalism is the feeling of belonging and loyalty that cause people to think of themselves as a nation. So we are a part of this nation and we are proud of it. The patriotic feeling, that patriotic feeling that comes out from us every time. Like in this current situation, that all the people are united as a whole and taking up and fighting out this problem which is coming up, this COVID-19 which is going on all around us, and India is fighting as a strength in a very strengthful way, and they are dealing it with a very balanced way, not like US, like the big countries that are there like US, Europe. They are failed because they were above us, but they failed to fight it out with this problem. But India is leading as a country and fighting it every day with these problems, and it only needs our unity as a whole. So basically this nationalism works into your own country, and you are proud of that you are proud of your own nation. That is nationalism as a whole. So during this 19th and 20th century, nationalism was a very powerful force that could create one nation from many other separate countries. So basically nationalism can has that powerful force within themselves that it can create their own identity, and they don't need any separate nation or separate country to fame them. So basically they can stand for their own self. They don't need a name of that particular country or as a whole. So when we talk about basically in Europe, there are so many states that are there, but Italy and Germany are few of the examples that have stand for themselves as their own. They have their own particular identity. They don't need to use Europe for themselves. So they are working for themselves as a whole. And one thing more, that it can also break one nation up into many countries. So basically, when this nationalism was occurring in the countries like Austria and Turkey, so what has happened there, that they were a one country, and because of different identities that were present there, different communities that were present there, because of that, when the nationalism come up to that particular country, it has segregated the country into two parts also. So it can make up a nation and it can break up a nation also. The nationalism is all about this, that it is a sort of a feeling, a patriotic feeling that comes up when we talk about our own nation and we are proud of being a part of it. So basically, when we talk about the European society, it was all about the monarchy segment that was going on at that particular time, and they were particularly the king and queens who were stated as in their upper class, and there are a certain lower class who work under them. So basically, there are two divisions that were being made in the European society at that particular time, which are the upper class and the lower class. So basically, in the upper class, most of them were most of the people who are living there, they spoke French only, and they have owned large countries, estates and townhouses. So basically, the major area that was acquired by the upper class, because they have the power to have that kind of a lifestyle. They had that common interest and lifestyle. They go to these they have their own parties where they assemble in a hall, and they usually do the high class parties that were happening in Europe. So they were part of that only. So they were the dominant society that was there in Europe, who were dominating the lower class who were living in particularly Europe, and the majority of people were the peasants. Peasants means who are the workers that were working under these upper class societies. All the workers, all basically the jhadu pocha wala, the cooks, and the workers who were working under them. These were the people who comes under the lower class people, and most were landless and worked as serfs. So basically, they don't have home at that particular time, because majorly land was owned by these upper class society people. So what they have done, so they were to have a home, so they started working in with this upper class people, and they started living with them so that they can get a single room or something to live. So what they were doing, so they were serving these upper class people so that they can get some place to live and something to eat. So that was the difference that was occurring in this European society in the 19th and the 20th century at that particular time. Like in this picture, you can see that what is the difference between an upper class people and the lower class people. So the upper class people, she is wearing a very good gown. She is quite. You can see that the richness that is coming up on her face. You can see that, and at the same time, the lower class people, she is working in a heartful way in a hut, and she is cooking something, and the clothes you can see. So the difference you can see in the upper class and the lower class itself here, and in your own nation also, in India also, this society is still there. The urban and rural places we have in India, you can see the difference. The people who live in the cities, in the towns, and the people who live in villages, those who are working under us. So there is a huge difference. Likewise, in the Europe also, there were certain differences like this, and people were treated very badly. These lower class people were treated very badly at that particular time. And these were the leaders of the revolution in Europe, that in the French Revolution that will come up. So these were the few of the leaders who have won this revolution that have been occurred in Europe. Now, before talking about the Napoleon that have been came up, we should talk about what does the French Revolution was all about, that you have studied in class 9th also. So the French Revolution that you have studied in class 9th, what was it all about? So it was started basically in 1798. So the French Revolution that was started in 19, and it was the clear expression of nationalism at that point of time. Why? Because the steps taken by the French revolutionaries, they have created a sense of collective identity amongst these French people. So all the French people who they were living there, they have created certain a collective identity for them, so that they can come up for themselves and they can live peacefully in Europe for themselves. So what were that? So they have created their new French flag, and they had the ideas of La Patrie and Les Secures. So these were the official languages they were speaking at that particular time. So the language that was there in the French Revolution, that has been come up. Then the Estates Journal was elected and renamed as the National Assembly. New hymns were composed and oaths were taken. Centralized administration system was come up, and the internal customs duties and dues were abolished. So these were, and the uniform system of weights and measures were introduced. French became the common language there. So these were all the things that have been come up, and because of these steps that have been taken in the French Revolution, the France was a full-fledged territorial state in the 1789 under rule of a monarch. What are monarchs? Basically the kings who are making all the rules there, and all these political and constitutional changes that came up in way of this French Revolution led to the transfer of basically a total what we can say that equality from the monarchy to a body of this French region. So they got all equality from this monarchy of a body of these French citizen, and also powered revolution in all Europe, and it has created a lot of power revolution in all of the Europe there. Now then, after a while, it was all being done. The Napoleon came under French Revolution at basically in 1790. In 1790, the Napoleon came to India to rule France, basically to have their own policies have been applied in particularly in Europe. So the Napoleon came up and he has ruled France from 1799 to 1850. So basically these were the years when he has actually ruled. But before that, when he came to when he came to Europe, so what he has done, he wants to have his own kind of rules and political constitution that he wants to apply there. So what were and he has called that the Napoleonic Code there. So the Napoleonic Code that he want to apply in Europe, and when he has ruled there. So what were the things that came there was the return of monarchy. So basically it was the return of monarchy that came there. Then administrative reforms were made, equality before law and right to property, removal of guild restrictions in the towns, and improvement in transport and communication, uniform laws, weights and measures, and the nationwide things has to be changed. So he want to change basically all the monarchy system that was there in that particular country, so that he can apply his own things there. So Napoleon was he was a neutral person. He was good also and he was bad also. He wants some good changes in that particular country also, which is particularly not good for that country. And certainly being a selfish person, he was a bad person also in certain ways. So what does he want as a whole was that the Napoleon Code that have been applied there, that has been said that to all the privileges that have been made there, that should be given to all the people, not only to the upper class people, and not focusing the lower class people basically. So he wants that the equality should be given to all the people there, and basically equality before law that has been made in his mind, and the right to property. Basically he wants that the upper class people should not acquire the entire properties that are there. The lifestyle that is given to the upper classes should not be given to them only. The lower class people have that, they should also have the authority to buy those properties and to live a better lifestyle. So in a good way he was, we can say that he was good, that he wants equality in that particular nation, and before law and everything was there. And he wants to make certain changes in the administrative reform as well. How? Because all these laws that have been made by these kings and the queens, it was only for the benefits of the upper class society that were living there, and not for the lower class people. So he wants certain changes for them also, so that both of them can get all the equal rights in the constitution also. All the laws that have been made there. And the removal of guild restrictions in the town. So basically they were, the lower class people, certainly they were not allowed, there were some restrictions to them in the town. So he wants that to remove from the particularly nation, and he wanted to improve the transportation and communication system there also. And certainly he wants certain uniform laws that have been made for both the society that are living there, the upper and the lower, the weights, the measures and nations. So this was the Napoleonic code that have been applied by the Napoleon in his own rule that have been made there at the time of 1799 to 1915. And because of this he has gained a lot of power in 1799 by becoming the first consul. So he was the first consul that have been made there. And we can call this as civil code also, the civil code of 1804 that have been made. And in this, all these things were basically, the Napoleon took away all the political freedom and increased the taxes also, imposed to censorship, and forced people to join the French army. So he wanted to make his own army at that particular time. So he was taking all the people who are working under this upper class society into his own army, so that he can become more powerful. So when we talk about the bad deeds that he did, that he was a few of his selfish reasons. He wanted to acquire more and more power in that particular regions and that particular country. That's why he wanted to have his own army and to fight it out all the monarchism that was going on around him. So that was the Napoleonic code that have been applied at that particular time. And after that, in 1815, there were few of the countries that have been that don't want him to rule in that particular country. So they have acquired their own army to fight it out with him. So, and in that particular fight, the Napoleon lost his kingdom from Europe, and he was abolished from that country basically. So this was the overall thing about the French Revolution and the rise of the nation at that particular time. After that we will talk about in the next lecture. Now the assignment solution that we are going to talk about. So this was the assignment that I have given you, these 7 questions, and after this I am going to tell you about the solutions of each and every answer. So question number 1 was, what is federalism? So federalism is a type of government in which the power is divided between the national government and other governmental units, and it contrasts with the unitary government in which a central authority holds the power and a confederation in which states, for example, are clearly dominant. So this is basically the answer. You can write it down also. Answer number 2, what is jurisdiction? So basically it is a power that a court of law or an official has to carry out legal judgments or to enforce laws. So basically this is the answer. Answer number 3. So basically there are 3 kind of lists. We have 3 lists related to legislative powers. They are as follows. First is union list. This list includes various subjects of national importance, and the central government has power to legislate and make laws on these subjects. And these subjects are included in this list because we need a common policy on them throughout the nation, and some of these subjects are currency and defense. Second is the state list. This list includes those subjects on which the state government make laws, and these subjects are included in this list because these are best settled on the state or regional level. Then the third is concurrent list. Both the central as well as the state governments can make laws on the subjects mentioned in the concurrent list, and in case the laws made by the government clash, then the law made by the central government prevails. And these subjects include adoption, marriage and succession. And beside there is another residuary list, and this list involves residuary subjects, and these are the subjects which were introduced after the constitution was formed, like computer software. The central government has the power to make laws on these subjects. Answer number 4. What is decentralization? So decentralization is defined as the assigning of authority orderly throughout various levels of management in an organization. It explains the way in which power to take decisions is allocated among various levels in the organizational hierarchy. Now answer number 5. In a federal form of government, the central government shares its power with the various constituent units of the country. For example, in India, power is divided between the government at the center and the various states government. And in a unitary form of government, all the power is exercised by only one government. For example, in Sri Lanka, the national government has all the powers. Answer number 6. Indian Union was formed on the basis of federalism. The constitution originally provided for a two-tier system of government, and the union government or central government represents the Union of India, and the state governments represent the provinces. Later, the third tier was added in the federation with the formation of panchayats and municipalities, and the division of power between the central and state government is done in a threefold distribution of legislative powers between the union government and the state government. And there is the three lists that have been made: the union list and the state list and the concurrent list. The union list, it includes subjects of all the national importance, defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communication and currency. And the central government alone can make decisions on these particular matters. The aim of including these matters is union list is to ensure uniformity in the policy of these areas throughout the country. And the state list, it contains subjects of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation. The state government alone can make laws and decisions on these areas. And the concurrent list, it includes those subjects which are of common interest to both the central as well as state government, and it includes matters like education, forest, marriage and trade unions. So both the state and central government can make decisions on these matters. Now answer number 7. You can write any 5 points from these. So there are 2 or more levels of government. Basically the features: different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own rule in specific matters of legislation, taxation and administration. And the jurisdictions of the representative levels of the tiers of government are specified in them, and the fundamental provisions of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of government. 5th, courts have the power to interrupt the constitution and the power of different levels of government. 6th, the sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy, and the federal system thus has dual objectives. to safeguard and promote unity of the country, and while at the same time to accommodate regional diversity. So these are the answers of the assignment that I have given you, and your homework will be that I am going to give you a test that will be there on the website. You can see from there, and you have to solve that in view of your parents only. Your parents should see that you do the test without looking at your book. And if you have any queries, you can ask in the comment section. I will help you out, or in the student inquiry section also you can ask me there also. So if you have any problem in certain topics, you can write it down in the comment section, and I will let you know in the next lecture itself if there is any queries you have. Thank you so much.